member for Braddon.
Well, thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I'm so pleased to this evening to rise and speak on the Primary Industries Excise Levies Amendment Dairy Produce Bill of 2014. The amendments to the Primary Industries Levies Act increases the maximum rates of the Australian Animal Health Council levies on dairy produce. It will amend the Primary Industries Excise Levies Act of 1999 to enable the dairy industry to continue to meet its obligations in relation to its Animal Health Australia annual membership and other animal health and welfare initiatives. The levies are payable by the producer of the relevant dairy produce and are collected by the Commonwealth for disbursement to Animal Health Australia. Australian Dairy Farmers Limited, the national representative body for the dairy industry, has requested the amendments. Australian Dairy Farmers Limited is also party to the Emergency Animal Disease Response Agreement, so this bill will allow the dairy industry to meet requirements of being a signatory to that agreement, including the ability to meet its obligations in the event of an emergency response and where a nationally costed share response has been agreed. Deputy Speaker, this bill gives me the opportunity to highlight the importance of the dairy industry in Tasmania and more particularly Braddon. I enjoyed the contributions of both the member for Hume and the member for Calare, and I do look forward to the contribution shortly of my colleague from Lyons, who shares also a passion for the dairy industry in our state of Tasmania. It gives me the opportunity to get excited, Mr Deputy Speaker, about future prospects for the industry, but to also warn of the challenges that are being faced. The Tasmanian dairy industry is the largest agricultural sector in the state of Tasmania. 1,500 people are employed on farms and over 3,000 in the industry. 160,385 cows. I'm not sure when that count took place, maybe this afternoon, I'm not sure. But on 437 farms produce around about 770 million litres of milk. Dairying accounts for about 38% of all agricultural gross product, second only to the salmon sector. But when downstream products, including confectionery, Mr Deputy Speaker, are included, the dairy industry is in fact the largest agriculture sector, valued at over $1 billion. In my electorate, North-West Tasmania, King Island, it's the largest dairying region in the state of Tasmania, with over 54% of the total number of farms and about 58% of the cows. My region employs about 800 people in the industry, and of this number, 145 farms and 67,523 cows are to be found in one particular region, and that's the Circular Head region, as we say in our electorate, the land of milk and honey. Mr Deputy Speaker, it's an honour to stand here today and to be able to declare to all members present, and those hopefully listening, that your electorates, wherever they are across this great nation, don't do cheese or butter as well as my electorate in Braddon. Now, the proof is you can cough as you wish, Mr Deputy Speaker, but the proof is in the pudding. Or should I say, in this case, the proof is in the multiple gold and silver medals awarded to North-West Tasmanian producers at the most recent Royal Sydney Cheese and Dairy Produce Show. So I'm not making this up.
I would remind honourable members that the member for Braddon does not need encouragement.
That's true. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, over 800 cheese and butters were submitted for judging recently, but only a few were worthy of being named winners or awarded gold and silver medals. There just isn't enough time to list out all the winners here, but special mention must go to Fonterra and to Lion-owned cheeses King Island Dairy and Heidi Farm. Both cheesemakers won cheese categories and managed to take home over a dozen gold and silver medals. But for the benefit of members, and particularly you, Mr Deputy Speaker, it was never a fair contest. It was never a fair contest. I mean, how could the mainland ever compete with the cleanest air in the world, the healthiest and happiest dairy cows in the country, the greenest and most nutritious grass, and some of the most skillful cheesemakers in the world? Now, in the case of King Island Dairy, farm manager Mr Scott Clark, who's a good friend of mine in fact, takes great pride in his work. He manages to get the highest quality milk from his cows, which are then handed over to master cheesemaker Yuli Berger. Now, Mr Berger is one of Australia's leading cheese makers, with awards from a host of international and local shows, including the New York Fancy Food Show and the World Championship Cheese Contest in Wisconsin. Congratulations to Yuli. He's done it yet again. Now, if there are members of Parliament yet to taste the world's best cheeses from the electorate of Braddon, I suggest you get down to your local supermarket and pick up one of the many cheeses, or even better, book yourself a ticket to the North West Coast and King Island, and I'll be happy on either side of the house to take you on a tour, except for Mr Baldwin, of course, who's been before and I can't keep the food up to him. Maybe, Mr Deputy Speaker, I could in fact put on a few platters one evening and invite you all to my parliamentary office, or maybe not. Deputy Speaker, as I said in my first speech, I have a vision. I have a vision for a better Braddon that can build on its Tasmanian brand by increasing dairy production by the targeted 40% over the next 5 years. Now, reaching this target will require tens of thousands of more cows, more sustainable farms, new farms, and most importantly, particularly given the results of the Brotherhood of St Lawrence research results yesterday showing my electorate, unfortunately, disappointingly, sadly, at the top of the pile when it comes to youth unemployment, this target, if it is to be reached, will provide hundreds and hundreds of new jobs in the industry. Now, to reach this target, we need innovative dairy farmers, and my electorate, Mr Deputy Speaker, you won't be surprised to learn, has many. Now, fifth and sixth generation farmers, Norm, Leslie and Rob Frampton, were named 2013 Australian Dairy Farmers of the Year. Tasmanian Dairy Business of the Year award in March 2013. The Framptons achieved a return on investment of 12.9% through a focus on low-cost productivity, including labour, fertiliser, weed control and attention, importantly, to animal health. So not only do we produce and win at the Royal Show the Best Cheese and Butter Awards, we also knock over the best in the country when it comes to the Dairy Farmer of the Year Awards. Mr Deputy Speaker, there are exciting opportunities for us in dairy farming, not only in Tasmania but certainly in my electorate. The $66 million upgrade to the Cadbury factory in Hobart, of which the government contributed $16 million to reopen the world-famous Cadbury chocolate tours, will create the biggest difficulty facing the industry, believe it or not. The dairy industry will need on this initiative alone, to increase its herd by 6,000 cows and produce an additional 80 million litres of fresh milk in order to accommodate the Cadbury upgrade alone. No wonder this is such an important investment. And most of this increase, Mr Deputy Speaker, will need to come from my electorate in North West Tasmania. In addition to Cadbury, Lion Dairy and Drinks has just completed a $140 million upgrade to its Burnie facility, which will lift cheese production of 11,000 to 18,000 tonnes by 2016. Now, while Tasmanian Dairy Products' $80 million investment in a processing plant in Smithton opened in March 2013, it processes raw milk from Tasmanian farmers to a range of dried dairy products for export to overseas markets. Van Diemen's Land, the VDL company, proposes to develop 11 new dairy farms on its Woolnorth property in Circular Head, which will create 58 immediate direct ongoing roles and adding 14,000 milking cows to its herd and an additional $100 million to the local economy in North West Tasmania. In September last year, Tasmanian Dairy Products started operation of a powdered milk processing facility at Smithton. The project will employ another 50 people and process up to 480,000 litres of milk each day. Deputy Speaker, the export opportunities for dairy-related products are opening up before our very eyes. The Asian market in particular, as alluded to by the member for the member for Hume, wants our stuff. I can't put it any more bluntly than that. They want our stuff. The growing middle class of Asia are seeking quality products, especially for their children. They want the best for their children. Now, markets will continue to open up as a result of the very good work being done by Minister Andrew Robb in the area of trade, with exciting developments on free trade agreements with Korea and the works being done with Japan. Those two markets alone will open up many opportunities for us. But as I try to wrap up, Mr Deputy Speaker, in time, there are some challenges facing the dairy industry. And like every farming region, Tasmanian dairy farmers face a host of difficulties: red tape, regulation, the questionable market practices of large supermarkets, fluctuating milk prices and poor weather. But perhaps the biggest issue facing dairy farmers in Tasmania is demand. Meeting the demand, not the lack of it. Let's talk about the carbon tax. Mr Deputy Speaker, analysis undertaken, and I will not take exception to the member for Clare, but I'm not sure that he's got the most recent data as he alluded to this particular topic. But a recent report would indicate to me that the impact of the carbon tax on the average dairy farm is approximately and approaching $20,000 per average farm. That's right, $20,000. Now, the carbon tax leaves its toxic footprint everywhere. It finds its way into the cost of transport and in the cost of energy and water. It finds its way into the cost of machinery and asset repairs, and even finds its way into the cost of fertiliser. A 2010 report undertaken in 2010 to research the impact of the carbon tax on agriculture highlights, and I quote, and this is an ABARES report, I understand, dairy farms are expected to be more affected by the carbon price than any other sector considered. Now, unlike most businesses, dairy farmers cannot simply pass on the carbon tax impost, as you'd all be aware. They are price takers and are mostly at the mercy of multinationals. Farmers generally work their butts off. They toil in inclement weather. They wake every morning to uncertain economic factors and the price of the dollar, and they risk much year on year. And as this industry grows, Mr Deputy Speaker, there is a need for more flexible working arrangements on dairy farms and agriculture in general. To capture the vagrancies of the agricultural sector, it's imperative that we all understand the cost, the implications of labour. Workforce shortages are very much real, and unbelievably, given the data released, as I said yesterday, about youth unemployment, dairy farms are still struggling to attract and keep workers. Unbelievable. And at this point, I need to put paid to the idea that the basic skills of literacy and numeracy don't matter in a job on a dairy farm, because it does matter. We have a great deal of work still to do on this front, making sure that our young people in particular are job ready. So it was pleasing, Mr Deputy Speaker, to have the Assistant Minister for Education, Susan Lee, with me in my electorate last Friday discussing this very challenge. Mr Deputy Speaker, there are jobs, good jobs to be had, and working on a dairy farm is more than placing cups on cows and sloshing around, dare I say it, in cow shit. It's also about animal husbandry, developing a business. Farming is not just farming. It is, in most cases, a small business, and far too often this fact is forgotten by too many. In Braddon, most dairy farms are multi-million-dollar revenue businesses. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, I don't want to give the impression that increased dairy production is the economic panacea for the electorate of Braddon. It is not, but it does represent one significant piece of the repair jigsaw, and the benefits to jobs, growth, farm sustainability and profitability, state GDP and flow-on dollars to small businesses in my regional communities who desperately need it should not for 1 minute be underestimated. I thank the House.
The member for Braddon, just for clarification, did I hear you say cow manure before?
I think that's correct.
I thought it was cow manure.